Team, what is going on? Oh, I'm ready and energetic and pumped to be coming on the podcast to deliver up some fire on your Monday morning or indeed your Sunday afternoon. So we're going to be getting started in the podcast in just a touch over 2 minutes. My brothers, my sisters, we are live back in Vancouver, Canada for a couple of weeks now. Enjoying the snow disappearing and the beautiful weather that is upon us. What about you guys? How was your weekend? Let me know in the comments. Get down there, guys and girls. Let me know. Did you relax? Did you party? What did you do? How are you feeling? How are you showing up on a Monday/Sunday? Are you ready? Hello, Kenny Beats. Douche, 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 douche. Kenny Beats, Kenny Beat. What's going on, mate? I hope you're good, buddy. Fantastic. Hello, Mikey boy. How are you, my legend? Who else we got? We got a Facebook user here. Good morning. I've got to start posting in the links so you guys can actually authorize StreamYard. But we'll get to that soon. All right. Worked all weekend, said Kenny. Yeah, guys, what did you get up to on the weekend? Let us know. Are you entering a Monday relaxed and ready to rock and roll? Now, I'm just going to let you know, guys, if you don't want passionate Jace yelling in your ear, this is a good podcast to turn off. Just letting you know in advance, not yelling in your ear, just getting super passionate about what we do. Hello, Ash. Love that I have your company in here today, mate. Tez is in here with the crew. Hello, Jen. What's going on? Jen. Karina. Oh, I love when you come into the podcast to get involved, Karina. We're going to start this episode in 1 minute time as we bring in the TikTok audience. Nikki Friend, what's going on, champion? A couple of you guys, you reviewed the podcast last week, and I want to thank you. Thank you very much for doing so. When you review the podcast, you push it up in the algorithm. When you share the podcast, you push this information out and you impact more lives while we help you impact yours. So thank you very much. If you haven't done it, I'd love you to do it. Just go across to Apple, scroll down to the bottom, and you're good to go. Hello, Sammy girl. By the way, you looked phenomenal in your going out gear the other day, Sammy. Looking good. Hello, Jimmy. Welcome back, my brother. Michelle Richmond, what is going on? And we've got morning day one. How are we, sir? She? I don't know who it is. Anyway, I do digress. Let's get stuck into today's episode. I think we are good to go on the count of... Hello, Pete. You got in just in time on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Now, in today's episode, you're going to be getting a very passionate Jace talking about how society is determining your health, determining your life. So, we're going to kick off in the podcast in just a moment. One of the things I wanted to say is congratulations to all of you who are inside Better Body Academy and still persisting with the cold showers, right? We've got a cold shower challenge running all the way through March. I want to ask my crew on Facebook, are you doing it, guys? Let me know in the comments. If you are still deep in a streak, you should be going into either end of day 7 or start of day 8. No, that's not right because we started midweek, didn't we? About 5 or 6 days in. So it is, for me, it's been a little bit transformative, to be honest. The first 30 seconds, especially on a Sunday morning, absolutely suck. But then you start to get used to it. And it becomes a little bit of this like sadistic thing, right? Jimmy says no longer a challenge. I love that, Jimmy. What about the rest of you guys? Are you still doing the cold water challenge? A little bit of a tip for the ladies that need to wash their hair after it. I got asked the question by one of the girls today, what should I do? What you should do is go cold as hell for 1 or 2 minutes, then take a 1 minute break where you turn the shower off and then go and have your hot shower if you want to do that. That way, you're getting the full bang for buck on the cold. Okay, let's get stuck into today's episode. We're going to be discussing how gender and age tends to shape your health outcomes if you're not conscious of it, okay? Now, let me explain my line of thinking for doing this topic, okay? Today, my beautiful partner, Claudia, turns 40 years old. And despite this, she looks and feels the best she's ever felt, just ask her. And I started thinking to myself last night, why is it that her health is better than people half her age? It's a feeling that I feel personally. Now, of course, genetics play a role, right? Genetics 100% play a strong role. Further to that, when we speak about women, you know what? Like a woman's individual journey, particularly with motherhood and birthing, it just changes your body crazily. In some circumstances, nothing you can do about it. But Claudia is a very independent thinker, okay? She's the daughter of 2 Chinese parents. She's lived a certain set of expectations for, the first 25 years of her life. And more recently, in the latter 15 years, she's broken away from those expectations, kind of being a little bit rebellious towards the Chinese way of you should go to school, do this work, be a professional, etc. And she's lived a life by design. This is probably one of the reasons why we connected. She realized that living according to other people's expectations was not bringing her happiness, and so she made a choice. And this got me thinking, I wonder how many of us watching this podcast or listening on replay, I wonder how many of us are living according to a set of ideals that we inherited from our parents and our community, and we've continued them because it's all we've ever known. And then specifically, I wonder how that is actually shaping our health. So this episode, I want to bring you some awareness to your thinking, to at least get you to ask yourself, am I being shaped in any way by what society expects me to be as a man or a woman? Or at least, have I adopted a typical way of thinking as a man or woman without actually becoming aware of it? And then secondly, have I adopted a way of thinking because I turned a certain age? Have I had my independence stripped because I started thinking like a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old or whatever it is for you? And so I hope this podcast gets you thinking about how life is shaping you and how it might be time for you to start making some new choices. And I've got a feeling that all the middle-aged dudes like Jimmy and Nick Friend are sitting here nodding with absolute agreement. Throughout this podcast, I'd love to hear your comments because this is definitely not a complete podcast, but the key takeaway message is going to be this. Please start living life on your terms, not the terms of others. So, I want to talk about gender first and bring your attention maybe to how society's ideas of a man or woman could potentially be shaping their outcomes, and whether I want you to be asking yourself, have you fallen victim to this? Let's talk about from the top, the likeliness to seek out healthcare. Okay? As a man, there are these expectations to conform to traditional notions of what masculinity is, which includes suppressing your emotions and showing, masculine strength. This can lead to higher rates of isolation, substance abuse, addiction, suicide. We men are expected to be emotionally stoic and independent, and this can lead to isolation and loneliness. This is just one example. If I look at women, I see women, for a large part, more in touch with their health. This is, of course, a generalization, but I'm interested in how you guys are living according to these gender stereotypes. Let's talk about alcohol consumption. Men are far more likely to drink excessively. Men are much more likely to drink more volume in a binge session. Men are much more likely to take risks when they're drinking. Other substances, not wearing seatbelts, driving cars, etc., which puts them at an increased risk of death or injury. And I think there's this inherent pressure for men to drink, right? You've kind of got to, it's blokey, you've got to fit in with the culture. And there are many people that are bucking this trend that I am seeing in my environment. But I'm asking you, are you being shaped by your environment, society's expectations? I'm asking you to stop and think, are you being shaped by your masculinity or your femininity? What about conformation to a physical ideal? I think this polarity has always been really interesting for me. How men are pushed to occupy as much space as they can, like physical space. Women are pushed to occupy as little space as they can. Don't you think that's a weird polarity? When we think of men, there is this push for body image issues, which is leading to a bunch of young men and women, but predominantly young men, abusing steroids. I don't know what it's going to be like having a son growing up at 15 years old, 16, 17, 18 years old, understanding the pressure that's on him. And then we turn to women. What about the confirmation of needing to be skinny? Skinny. That's a body ideal that's put upon so many women, which causes body image issues and disordered eating. Actually scary, given that I've got a daughter as well. What about the differences between the work and caregiving responsibilities of men and women? Let's talk about the expectation, and of course there are exceptions to this trend, and I'm speaking in generalizations, but what about the expectation of men being breadwinners that can lead to high stress, high anxiety when we lose jobs or run out of work, and the breadwinning is often at the expense of the man's own personal health and well-being. It can limit their connectivity with their kids and cause massive amounts of dad guilt. On the woman's side, there is this expectation to prioritize caregiving, often at the expense of the woman's own personal health and well-being. The woman decides to try to get herself in shape, but this causes a feeling of mum guilt, which is pressuring the decisions that are being made by the woman. And it causes a feeling that maybe I just need to be mum, which opens up a whole big can of worms. Let's talk about the type of work that men do. Often it's manual, hard labor that comes with an inherent risk. This is perhaps something that women aren't exposed to. Do you see how society's ideals about what you do with your life impact the decisions you make and therefore your health outcomes? What about the types of exercises that women do versus men? Men are encouraged to lift weights, and that comes with all the benefits of resistance training. Improvement of your metabolism, better weight management, improved strength, improved bone health. Yet if you go to any traditional gym around the world, traditional gym, I don't mean a woman's gym, what you'll see is probably about 5 to 10% of the crowd are actually women, and the gyms account for that in their setups. The women's part to the gym has the pin-loaded machines, and it gives this opinion that women are less able to train weights than men, but there's no physical reason for that. And so oftentimes women don't lift weights. What's the consequence of that? They get weak, they get bad posture, and one of the number one sufferings of being a skinny woman that has never lifted weights is you develop osteoporosis or very brittle bones, which is so dangerous when you get old because it makes you more likely to fall. When you're more likely to fall, a succession of things happen from falling over, breaking your hip, which oftentimes lead to eventual death. And I won't go into this. And so women have this idea that I don't want to get bulky, so they go to the gym and focus on cardio machines and group fitness. Like, are you having a choice in this, or are you listening to society's expectations? What about our attitudes towards exercise and health and fitness? Men are often conditioned to get aggressive and assertive and go after it. Whereas women appear to be, maybe it's the maternal instinct, but often less assertive on their goals. They have maybe a fear of making their partner feel inferior, so they're less likely to attack their health with intention. Instead, there's this this expectation that they should put their time into romanticizing relationships and motherhood over personal goals and aspirations. Like, where does this come from? And finally, women with their constant hormonal changes over the course of a lifetime between menstruation and menopause, this is generally something that men don't have to deal with to any degree compared to women. Women go through these fluctuations, and in life, physical and mental health are impacted by these things, causing mood changes, weight gain, and other physical symptoms. And then how are your behaviors shaped by what's happening to you hormonally? Guys, like Coach Aaron's put a deep-rooted history of social expectations. This is the point. So are you a victim of what society's impinging upon you? Let's now go and talk about age. I turned 40 last year. But to me, that's quite literally another number. No part of me was feeling, oh, well, I'm on the downhill now. Society has this fucked up way of stripping people of their integrity and treating middle to older age people with pity and lack of respect. I'm going to start a petition right now. Fuck that. To all the 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds and 60, 70, and 80-year-olds that are saying, you know what, this is just par of the course, it's an eventual just walk towards decay. Let's go through some of the things that are expected of you as an older person. Number one, you're expected to grow up. What does that mean? Does that mean it's time to stop dreaming and just start working and paying your bills? We enter this existence of Groundhog Day where we give up fighting for what we wanted to do and start doing what we think we have to do to pay the bills. So this causes this monotonous existence of 12-hour days to make money at the consequence of our own health to arrive at a retirement where we can enjoy retirement. Have you ever considered how fucking crazy this idea is? We spend our most able, energetic years working to arrive at a time where we enjoy our money saved and invested, but our health is so buckled that we can't actually enjoy anything. Like, just get out of the loop of thinking and just think, like, that's crazy when you think about that. I think work is very, very important, but spending 2/3 of your life doing something you hate to arrive at a retirement you can't enjoy, that just seems fucking crazy to me. That just seems mental. What else comes with aging? This idea that adults are expected to prioritize their kids over themselves. This message from society that we receive is that you have to choose between them or you. Why is that? Like, why does there need to be a choice? The very best way to demonstrate an amazing life to your kids is to set them up for whatever you think success is by demonstrating to them, not by telling them, not by sacrificing yourself. We are so caught up with this idea that we need to sacrifice because as a parent, that's noble. But what if instead we took a modeling approach by integrating our kids, into our fitness, into our health? That'll go far, far further demonstrating great parenting rather than sacrificing yourself for your kids. And then finally, society's expectations around aging. Do you agree that it's most people's attitude that aging just happens, and after a certain age, whatever you think the age is, it's just a slow, gradual decline to a fizzling end? Is that like the setup and how it feels? I just want you to think about that. Slowly making our way towards death. Fuck that. Shit is going to happen along the way because illness and disease is part of life, not separate to it. But what if, as a proposed general mindset, we lived as if it was a crescendo to the end? This is a mindset that, you know what, I'm getting better with age. How much better is that as a mindset? Listen, you have a choice. You have a choice. Napoleon Hill, who wrote the famous book Think and Grow Rich, he also wrote a less famous book called Outwitting the Devil. I would strongly recommend you read this book if you haven't already. And in this book, he talked about the fact that most humans act like robots and enter a hypnotic rhythm where they are stripped of any choice. They're on autopilot and they're totally ignoring the greatest gift that they could be given, the gift of choice in any circumstance. Poignantly, you can be the man that drinks and works himself to the bone and ends up with dad bod. Or you can choose an alternative. You can be the woman that shrinks away, takes up as little space as possible, and is passive in her attitude towards life. Or you can choose something different. And you can choose to be the 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old who is defiant against being determined by the number of years they've been on the planet. Or you can choose the alternative. The truth is, you have the ability to make choices that will drastically impact upon your present and your future. And the goal of this podcast was to, on a Monday morning or a Sunday afternoon, just jolt you a little bit into asking yourself, am I choosing what I'm doing? Or is it choosing me? This is the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast that you come to when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. I'm sticking around here on Facebook. For TikTok, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Okay, team. Thoughts? There's 20 people watching live. I'm trying to get in the habit here of sticking around with whoever wants to chat at the end and just carry on the conversation. Sam, hard hitting. Okay, why is it hard hitting, Sammy? Can you like, do you mind? I don't know if you're busy doing stuff at the same time as you're listening, but could you explain why it's hard hitting? What's the realization that, maybe is hitting out of this podcast? Ez says, I love talking about this stuff. It's deep and it's bringing awareness and hard hitting. Yeah, so like when we say bringing awareness, that's different to bringing knowledge, right? Guys, we know this stuff. Like we actually know this. You haven't discovered something here that's not like that's new knowledge. What happens is it slips out of our conscious thought, right? And we start to operate on autopilot. The reason we operate on autopilot is because the brain wants to outsource, as in like give it to your subconscious habit mind, the things that take up a lot of juice, a lot of energy to do. So what it does is it turns them into automatic processes. The problem is when you've turned an automatic process and now you're not making choices anymore. Like, fuck. And we all are guilty of this. So I want you to think of awareness is very different. Awareness is very different to knowledge. Knowledge is always going to be with you. Awareness is this idea that it's like the light in the room. We really have to keep asking ourselves, and the hardest part about being more aware is remembering to be more aware, right? Because we get consumed by what's going on in our life. I would love anyone who has developed a great awareness practice which makes us, remind ourselves of this stuff. Spot on, Jimmy says. Hits home big time. Yeah, well, it will, Jim, because, where you're at age-wise, right, you've made the changes, Jimmy, but you would see all of your mates, right, Jimmy? True or not? You'd see, like, not all of your mates, but a fair load of your mates just in this, like, fucking rhythm of, like, life happens to me, I've got no choice. Kenny, I made a huge decision in the last few days. I'm selling my business and I'm going for more me time. Congratulations, Kenny. Because do you know what? Here's a societal expectation. Running a business is going to make you happier. I fucking tell you what, like running a business is the hardest possible thing. It's like on par with parenting. It's really hard. And so making a decision to drop the business, if it's the right time for you, Kenny, that's a conscious choice decision. And that shouldn't be equated with, oh, you're giving up. Nope. You're making a decision for your lifestyle and based on where you and your partner are at. Wendy, I was definitely taking up less room as possible. Yes, that's a great point, Wendy. And so when we're conditioned to take up less room, are we going to go and attack our workouts? We're not. We're definitely not going to do that, because take up less room, be meek, disappear, like fade off into the like, what the hell? Why are women conditioned that way? Because it's making me think, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I want to, or because society has an expectation of me. That's exactly the point, Sammy. And that's not to say that sometimes society's expectations of you will line up for what you want. That's not to say it's always a bad thing, but I'm just provoking you to ask yourself, are you choosing? Are you choosing? And when I was kind of processing this in my mind last night with, talking to Claudia, is that she's just like, okay, can I just give you guys a little bit of feedback? Not feedback as in like insight. Claudia, for the first year that we ran our Ignition program, she was up front and center in coaching. But the thing that she really struggled with, which is, by the way, the essence of coaching, she just struggled with the idea that, Jace, I'm fucking sick of having conversations on a day-to-day basis about someone saying, oh, like, I just can't get motivated. I can't. She, in her psyche, she's just like, how are you not in enough pain that you don't want to make a change? Now, that's not the ideal attitude in coaching, and it's not being critical, but she feels like, I just struggle to have the bandwidth to write back to someone that's looking and going like, it's your fucking life. Like, there's no second, like, this isn't a dress rehearsal here. She struggled with that in coaching because it's like, dude, like, wake the fuck up. Like, you got a choice here, man. It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be easy. If you're giving up at the failure all the time, then like, what did you think transformation is going to be about? Nikki says, it took me a long time to realize that it is my choice. And Nikki, how do you feel now? How do you feel? Like what you said to me in a message the other day. I could get the message up and display it, but it's just like, I feel like I have a choice. Like it doesn't mean that things won't occasionally frequently be out of your choice. I have a friend who's been dealt a succession of shit blows, just over and over and over again. He's a really fit guy that is taking his health seriously, as if he's just got a. Those things are going to happen. You can't control those things. We can control the lifestyle component. Claire says, makes you realize the valuable time. Yeah, we waste on autopilot. That's exactly right. Exactly right, Claire. And this is what I'm trying to punch through. And when you realize your society has determined your life. Yeah. This is why, for me, when I'm repeating all the time, guys, this is not about fat loss. This is like, fat loss is the entry point. If you can lose 10 kilograms, it's going to show you that you can make a choice. Because right at the bottom level, you chose, okay, now's my time. I'm going to lose 10 kilos. And so because you made a decision, you made a choice, which when you followed through, that validated your choice. I can do this. What else am I not making a decision about? This is the reason why surrounding yourself with the right people is critical, because the level to which your awareness burns bright when you're surrounded by people that are sucking your energy is just going to dim. Like, it's just very, very hard to stay aware and alert and make conscious choices when you're in a crowd that's just not supportive of that. By the way, this is the reason why Better Body Academy works. It's the coaching's good, but it's to do with the community. This is the reason. This is the reason why the guys that get involved, the girls that get involved in the community are the ones that always win, because of the fact that the community holds you accountable if you let it. Following the crowd isn't always right for us. Guys, is there anything else that that you'd like to comment or go through or ask any questions? Still 20 people watching live, so I'm thinking that this discussion is something that like hits a little. I like the accountability mirror. Yeah, checking in on myself regularly. Yeah, I think as much as it's hard to do, Nikki, like you got to like the old post-it note on the mirror, because you have a shower every day, you do the same routine every day, like getting morning ready routine. Having a note there, like a check-in note, like that's a really good idea. It's not the solution, but it is part of the solution to continue your awareness. Hide in the background, lose yourself. Lose your love for life. That's exactly right. My dad has recently been dealt with a really shit go in life, but the biggest lesson he's taught me recently, without realizing it, he has never lost his passion for living and being present and pushing hard. Yeah, 100%. You have the choice to make change. Yeah. Okay, guys, it might be a wrap for this morning. Again, there's 20 people still sticking around and watching this, so I hope that you get value out of this podcast. By the way, if you would like me to cover a topic that you're struggling with, I can't promise that I will, because if I don't feel like I can give a good, strong opinion or talk with any level of experience about it, then it might be better for me to push that over to someone who can. But I will have a go at it. And so whatever it is that you're struggling with at the moment, like send me a DM, let me know what you'd like to have a discussion about. Let's make these podcasts. Here's what's going to happen. You can choose to feed yourself with the news, where you just go and sit on the couch and like stuff just enters your mind and just like grabs hold in your mind. Or you can choose to feed yourself with stuff. And the more you feed yourself with empowering, pattern-breaking information, this is the way. Guys, thank you very much for coming in. I hope you have a beautiful afternoon. Do me a favor. Send Cords a message. Bombard her on Facebook. Say happy birthday, old bird. And I'll tell her I said that, because then she'll refute it all. Guys, love you. Have a beautiful start to the week or a great end to your weekend. We'll chat soon.